Welcome back to episode 4. Hi, my name is Jess, and I bought this house when I was 24 years old with my big brother. This house sat here for over 40 years vacant, and me and my brother are restoring it. In the last video, we were working in the basement, and now we are jumping to the first floor. When we bought this house, there was actually a lot of leftover 2x4s and cinder blocks. Working together, we were able to build 2 temporary support walls on the side of this main wall. This main wall was supporting the house, but it was snapping under the pressure. We wanted to flatten out the floors and rebuild this wall.
Today is the start of another big step forward for the quad project. The center bearing wall, or what's left of it, all supported for the first floor here with our walls on either side. They still need to lift up a little bit, especially in the middle right here where it was really sagging. But I think what's actually happening now is that this center wall is still tying it together because it's getting really, really hard to lift it up, and it shouldn't be that way. And it's still got quite a bit to lift. So I think that this is like the nailing up the top and the nailing down the bottom are basically like tying it together. So before we completely finish lifting up the second floor, I'm going to start taking out the wall here in the middle, at least until about down there where the stairs are, because that's a little bit more complicated. It's going to take some more work. So we're going to get started today. I don't have too much time today, but I'm going to try to knock out as much as I can.
After we built those 2 temporary walls on the side, we were able to take out this middle wall on the first floor. Over the years, the floors became uneven, and so as we were building this new support wall, we also evened out the floors as much as we could with bottle jacks, the cinder blocks, and the old 2x4s that we found in the house. We spent thousands of dollars on dumpsters to get everything out of there, but all those materials really came in handy.
I made some really good progress this morning. Got quite a bit of this interior wall removed. All that down there. So I got almost to where I wanted to. I wanted to stop right about here where the stairwell is. So there's still some of this that I got to remove. And I was right about the wall tying the whole thing together, because this top plate is nailed like a mofo up to the joists. So that's going to take a more dedicated work session to remove. But like when I was pulling out the studs, when I was cutting them, some of them were like really bent. And then when I cut them, they like straightened out, which means that I was actually like pulling the whole thing together, essentially. And I also noticed that the floor dipped down a little bit as I was doing it as well, which makes me think that, it was pulling the floor up rather than it actually being loaded. So I don't know if I explained that all correctly, but it definitely was under tension instead of compression. So the load on these supporting walls is actually less than it was before. I also added some extra cross braces just to be extra safe. I did not take a video at the start of my work. I am taking a video at the end. All I did today was move this wood from where it was delivered outside up to approximately where it's going to go. These are the joists for the loft floor, and down here are the joists for the second floor and the first floor. And that was about all I did today.
Brett was the main framer during this time, and I was the main demo queen. There was so much to be torn out because there was so much rotten wood in this house, and there was also just a lot of extra walls that weren't supporting the building that needed to come down for a new layout of the house. This lot of land actually used to be 2 houses, and at one point the homeowners actually extended the house, so that's why it's so giant. When they made the addition, I'm guessing that they put in 3 patios, which in the 1980s was probably awesome for smoking a cigarette, but nowadays we don't need them, so I tore down the walls in between them to close them in. This allowed us to put in so much more space for bedrooms. The last owners somehow got up to insulation and then quit the project because there was thousands of dollars of insulation in the ceiling that I just had to tear down because they were full of bird poop or they had water damage on them and they really weren't usable. It breaks my heart though because it was thousands of dollars worth of insulation.
It's the end of another work day, and we made good progress once again. We got this wall pretty much demoed. The previous owner didn't put hangers on these joists up here like there are on this side. They didn't put hangers like up on this side, so I need to either buy hangers and put them up on there before we take this wall out, or I need to build a supporting wall, which I'm gonna have to do anyways later, so I think I'm just gonna do that. And then the framing of this beam and the corner is like such a mess. That's gonna require quite a bit of work to figure out and fix. So that was some stuff we started to think about today. I also set screws into the floor and did markings for the openings that I'm going to have to cut through the floor sections. So I did that, and throughout the whole project, we got all of our trash and stuff stacked up ready for the dumpster, which is going to come tomorrow, I think. Either tomorrow or the next day. Just did a bunch of sweeping down here, just tidying up, and then I immediately made a bunch more sawdust when I had to cut away that plate to set my screw there. And I think that's about it. We are back at it again this morning. Back at it, working on these floor joists. I realized at the end of the day yesterday, I was just being a silly little goose, and the reason why these weren't sistering up smoothly to the floor joists is there's a bunch of nails and other assorted objects in the way. So I'm going to start out by removing all of those all the way down. Jess is here. The big boss is throwing out our garbage today into the dumpster down there, which we loaded last night. And that's what the workload is looking like so far for today.
So many things had to be fixed at once as we were fixing the foundation and the structure of this house. When we bought this house, we had an idea of what we wanted to do, but we wouldn't know until we cleaned it out. As we cleaned it out, my brother and I sat at the kitchen table and made a plan, and he designed it up on his computer because he's an architect. We got the plans approved by a structural engineer, and then we worked to make it happen. The second floor was a mess because if you know anything about framing, these big boards on the top are called joists. With our layout of the new house plan, we had to extend these joists farther so that we could put them under the wall. When you hear people talk about structural walls, this is what we mean. The joists have to sit on top of a wall to be supported. And unfortunately, about all the joists on this floor were about 2 feet too short, so we had to double them all up to extend them to this wall. It was very difficult to get them up in there because there was not a lot of space to angle them up. The next process of this is we had to build a staircase up to the attic. My brother had a lot more framing experience than me, so while he held the nail gun, I was the person who kept him cool with the fan and kept the light on because, again, we don't have electricity here. There is so much going on, so make sure you like and subscribe for episode 5.